Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We're really excited to have you with us today. We're going to be talking with Mike Reardon, who's the Network Administrator for the Beaufort Delta Education Council. Mike, you're on the line.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. So what we're going to do is actually, let me just check really quickly and see if we have any polls. There aren't, so we're good to go. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you the agenda momentarily. And here it is. So the format for today, we're going to go and give a brief introduction to Cisco Meraki and cloud networking for those of you who may not be familiar with us and our products and why we do what we do. But I'm going to try to move along quickly and get to the meat of the webinar today, which is the chat with Mike, and he has graciously agreed to let us demo the Beaufort Delta Educational Council's network, Cisco Meraki network, so you get to see a live production network, and we'll go through at the end, wrap up with some Q&A and an overview of our product line. So that reminds me, I have two great colleagues in the room with me today, Kat and Jackie. They're here to answer any and all questions that you might have. So if you do have questions during the webinar, definitely ask them in the Q&A box. The reason for that is I have a couple of standard questions that I ask. I haven't prepped Mike on them, but we're really going to be looking to the audience to help drive the conversation. So if you have any questions for me or you have any questions for Mike, just let us know. Give me 1 second. I'm hearing that we have a little bit of audio issues. Hold on 1 second. Okay, folks. I think we've clarified some of the technical issues we were having here. Sorry for that. Thank you for your patience. Give me 1 second. I think we are still having some problems. We're getting a little bit of feedback. 1 sec. Okay, I think we're good now. Apologies, folks. Appreciate your patience. Here we go. Let me actually make this big. So before we get started, I am excited to announce that we do have free access points for qualified IT professionals on the call today. What we're going to do is send you an 11 NAP, and we'll throw in a 3-year cloud management license as well. So it is yours to keep and use however you choose, and it's a great way to get your hands on Cisco Meraki equipment. Now, to get your free AP to you, we do need you to call and confirm your shipping information. So check your emails and spam folders perhaps for a reminder about this webinar, and in that reminder will be the contact information for your Cisco Meraki rep. All right, so let's dive in. So a little bit about Cisco Meraki. For those of you who don't know, Meraki as a company was founded in 2006 by a research team from MIT. They were working on a project called the RoofNet project because they were putting wireless access points on rooftops and then trying to figure out how to manage those from the internet. So we have been in the cloud since day one. We were bought by Cisco actually at the end of 2012, so we're really excited by that. We formed the new cloud networking group at Cisco, and we actually have expanded beyond just wireless access points. We have 4 product lines. We actually have, in addition to the wireless APs, we have our MX line of security appliances, our MS line of switches, and free, completely 100% free mobile device management, which we call Systems Manager. Now, we have been seeing some incredible growth year over year, over 100% annual growth. We've been recognized by Gartner and other industry analysts for some of our awesome and cool technology. So we're really excited. We're continuing development across all 4 product lines and basically looking to bring Meraki to new markets. And here's just a small sampling of some of the K-12 campuses that do use us. It's not a comprehensive list, and in fact, we're not, exclusive to K-12. We do business in professional services, retail, manufacturing, construction, healthcare, just about all verticals. And some of our customers are very, very large. Some of them are very, very small. In fact, the world's largest cloud networking deployment that I'm aware of uses Cisco Meraki access points. That's for Motel 6. That's a network of about 10,000 access points spread across 620 locations, and they got that network up and running in under 6 months. So just to give you a sense for how fast and how quickly and how large we can scale up. But we do have folks who maybe only have 5 or 10 access points. So we run the gamut. And we often get asked the question, well, why cloud networking? Well, the answer is here. It revolves around the 3 buckets that you see on your slide. So the cloud really does increase your IT efficiency, and it does so around manageability, scalability, and cost savings. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time here because I want you to focus when we go through the demo and listen to some of the things that Mike speaks to. But when you're listening, keep these buckets in mind. So in terms of management, look for the end-to-end visibility and control that you're going to get. And think about the fact that you're going to have it from any internet accessible location and any internet accessible device. You can manage your network from your mobile phone from like GoGo in flight if you need to. Think about the fact that you do not need to manually stage or install updates ever. You just have to schedule a date and time for them. And also think about the fact that because we're cloud-based, you can actually pre-configure all your Meraki equipment before they've ever been plugged into power or the internet. So you can have equipment drop shipped to remote locations and have it just plugged in and have it grab its configuration settings from the cloud and start running. So no need to necessarily be on site. In terms of scalability, like I said, we can be very large and very small. And then in terms of cost savings, you'll see that we don't have the same limitations and requirements as traditional architecture. So you don't need to buy wireless LAN controllers. You don't have anything like the traditional AP limits or things like that. There's no redundant overlay hardware that you need to buy. We can push that all out to the cloud for you. So you're going to save a lot of money from not having to buy that extra equipment. You're also going to be saving money because you're not going to have to make as many trips to remote sites. And you may find that you're spending less time and money training your IT staff on getting up and running with our gear, because you'll see the interface is incredibly intuitive. So the way it works is our equipment, whether it's an access point, a switch, or a security appliance, would sit on site at your locations, branch sites, offices, what have you, schools, administrative offices, and they're going to initiate secure encrypted connections back to our cloud. And by cloud, I mean our data centers located all over the world. Now the connection is secure. It's encrypted twice, once with proprietary encryption and then with SSL, and it's very small. It averages about 1 kilobit per second per device, and you can see that actually here on the left. And the reason it's small is because we're only collecting the management and monitoring statistics that we need to present the information that you're going to see in the dashboard. So information like how many clients are connecting to your network, what kind of clients are they? Are they iPads? Are they Windows phones? Are they laptops? What kinds of applications are they consuming? What bandwidth is being consumed? Things like that. So it's an out-of-band management platform. The end user data never passes through or is stored in our cloud. There's a couple other features of our cloud that you should know about in terms of its reliability. So for example, we do have a highly available cloud. So we do have multiple data centers located all over the world and ways to fail over immediately in the event of catastrophic failure of 1, in which case, any customers that were in the failed data center would automatically be failed over to a different data center. So it would be a small blip, but you would still be operational. We do things like nightly encrypted backups. We have a 4 nines uptime SLA agreement with our data centers. The data centers themselves, they are SAS 70 or formerly SSAE 16 certified, I should say. They undergo daily penetration testing by McAfee. And we ourselves are actually PCI compliant, PCI level 1 compliant. We have customers that have built HIPAA and PCI compliant architectures using our gear. So if you have any questions about the cloud, you're worried about it, or have some issues that you have questions about, definitely I would encourage you to go to the URL at the bottom of your screen. It's called meraki.cisco.com/trust. We try to be as transparent and open as possible because we know folks do have questions. So we have a wealth of information there, lots and lots of information about our data centers, our privacy policy, our security certifications, and things like that. So I would definitely go check that out. All right, so without further ado, we've come to the meat of the webinar today. Mike, are you here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Great, fantastic. I was wondering if you could just give us a brief introduction and tell us a little bit about who you are and what your role is.
Hi, I'm Mike Reardon. I've been the network administrator here with the Beaufort Delta Education Council since 2007. We are a school district operating in the Canadian Arctic. We're very small population-wise. We only have about 1,100 to 1,300 students, 200 staff, but geographically we're about the size of France and Germany combined. So it's a very large area. Given where we are, a lot of our infrastructure is on, our infrastructure is very poor. Many of our communities are air access only. There's satellite uplinks which work very, very, very slowly. And our good schools are all on microwave links to the south. So even our best infrastructure isn't great. So we were tasked with putting wireless in all of our schools, and that's how I ended up here talking to these Meraki guys.
Okay. So I have a question for you, because that's actually a great segue into the first question I had, which was, can you tell us a little bit about your old architecture? Did you have wireless before, or were you just starting from scratch? And what were the sort of goals? What were the main must-haves for you when you were looking for a solution?
We did have a wireless solution that we had previously from a certain unnamed 4-letter company. We didn't like it because of an issue we had with the way, well, we had an issue with it. I'll just leave it at that. So we had to look elsewhere. Our requirements were very minimal. We basically just wanted to provide wireless connectivity to our LAN. We already had everything else in place, intrusion detection, routing, firewall, all that. So we just wanted something to provide just a basic wireless access points so the students in our schools could use their phones or their iPads or whatever other wireless device they had within the classroom.
Okay. When you were thinking about Meraki, were there any concerns that you had up front that were mitigated by an evaluation or when you finally got your hands on the gear?
Well, with our satellite uplinks, cloud is usually a very terrifying word because there's no bandwidth to be spared. So we were skeptical at first when we were putting them out, but we decided to go for it anyways and see how it how it worked, and in the end we were quite pleased because the bandwidth usage was practically nothing. So it works great. We love the cloud manageability. It saves us from having a very, very slow remote desktop connection to one of these satellite communities that have to work on the controller, and it saves me time and frustration.
Okay, awesome. That's good to hear. I wanted to just show folks on the call sort of some of the ways. So you have 8 schools, 1 administrative building, and here's sort of the breakdown. You've got a bunch of our access points, a few of our switches, and I was wondering if you could just speak a little bit about your deployment here.
Yeah, and Well, of course, since the devices were PoE, we needed a way to power them, so we decided to pick up a few PoE switches when we got them. Each school has a number of access points. Some of our schools are very small, so they've only got 2 or 3 access points. Some of our larger schools have, a dozen or so, and they're all scattered throughout the school. The switches we've got. The switches we've actually put at the edge of the network just so that all the traffic is flowing into it. See through the reports everything that's happening within that school, and it gives us a nice overview as well when we look at the dashboard. We can see everything that's going on within the school.
Great. So we got one question from the audience, which was, what model of MR access point are you using, and are they all indoor?
We're using MR16s, and they are all indoor. We don't really have a population to require anything beefier than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so for the benefit of folks on the call, we list out and spec out all of our access points, but the MR16 is probably our most popular model. It's dual radio AP. It's 11N. The model that would be more high end than that is the MR24. As far as the the MR26, actually, as far as the MR access points go. We just announced a couple of new models there. Great, 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 great. So we have this slide here just to kind of illustrate some of the things that I know, Mike, when we were talking to you earlier, some of the things that you highlighted as the main benefits of having our network. And I'm seeing things like it's plug and play, it was very, very easy to provision, and you could clone network configuration seamlessly. I'm assuming on the switch side. How long did it take you to deploy Meraki equipment across these 8 schools?
Honestly, the most time-consuming step of deploying the network was sticking an inventory tag on the devices and putting a reservation in our DHCP server for them. It's so quick. Once we did the initial setup, yeah, it's just as simple as cloning the network to cloning the network configuration, clicking off which access points we want to belong in that network, rename the SSID, and we're done.
Mm-hmm. Did you at any point have any non-technical staff sort of set up your gear at remote sites?
We usually don't, because good help is hard to find. So usually we want to deal with it ourselves. In some schools, unofficially, we do have staff who will do stuff to help us out. But for the most part, it's just myself and my tech who do all the servicing at the schools. So yeah, we try to minimize travel to these communities as much as possible. A trip to some of these more remote places can run $1,800 in airfare plus $300 a night at the hotel. So we don't want to go there ever.
Yeah, if you don't have to, for sure. Another question that came in that is a common question that we get from the audience is, can you tell us approximately how many clients per AP you're servicing, or if you've ever had any throughput issues with those MR16s?
We don't have a lot of clients in the schools. I would say there's probably no more than 10 to 20 connecting at any time, so I can't really comment as to congestion or anything like that.
Okay. I can put in the plug that typically, I've had clients come in and do these webinars based on some of the things I've heard from customers. Depending on what kind of traffic you're looking at, if you're looking at like high-def traffic for video streaming for everyone, it's very, very easy to support somewhere between 30, maybe 40 clients. I think in an ideal world, if it was just internet, you might have way, way more than that. Obviously it'll depend on the environment that you're in, but yeah, you do have a very few clients connecting there. That's unique.
Yeah, in most of our schools, the bottleneck is really the internet uplink. So the satellite communities have a 2 megabit bandwidth line that they share amongst 10 communities. So bandwidth to those is the issue. Mostly we just wanted to provide local LAN access and basic internet connectivity. Even in our larger schools, our biggest 5 megabits. So we don't get a whole lot of video streaming over the wireless network. So unfortunately, I can't really say how well they hold up under load because we don't get the opportunity to really stress the system.
Okay, and there was one more question from the audience, I think for me, which was, I guess someone had gone to our website and seen that there are no MR16s anymore listed there. And that's because we literally, I think it was last week, in fact, we announced some updated models. So the update to the MR16 is now the MR18. So the equivalent there, the equivalent today of the MR16 is the MR18. And the equivalent of the MR24 is the MR26. And so these are still 11N access points, the new models, but they are tri-radio as opposed to dual radio. So that's the difference. The last thing, Mike, that I had for you on this slide, as I noticed the very last bullet point, virtual stacking, which is this awesome feature switches that basically lets folks go into their dashboard, see all the switch ports across all of their switch models, regardless of model or geography of the switch, and basically operate on the switch ports en masse, configure them, enable or disable them, set VLANs, voice VLANs, etc. Can you just describe how you do this? What do you use it for? What benefits you've seen there?
We mostly just use it to see if specific ports are up or down. Only one of our schools is using VLANs currently, so the VLAN portion doesn't really apply to us. But we usually just want to see, are our servers up? How are the links looking? What kind of traffic is flowing through the lines and stuff like that?
Okay, great. So a couple other benefits here in terms of what you've gotten now, and we'll go through this when we go through the demo in about 6 minutes or so. Just the integrated fingerprinting, so it's very, very easy to go in, be able to tell an iPad from an iPhone, from a Windows 7 versus a Windows 8 device. It's really, really easy to search for devices this way as well and get a list of who's online currently, who's connected to what. In the same way we do application fingerprinting, so it's very, very easy to see applications and see where your bandwidth is going. Mike, another question came into the audience for you, which was, is there any Wi-Fi interference, and how do you manage it if so?
We haven't noticed any Wi-Fi interference. And in some of our schools, I think that we have way more access points than we need.
Okay.
So we're pleased with that, but I can't really comment about interference because we haven't experienced any.
Okay.
These places, the only really wireless that's broadcasting in town is our school, so it's a pretty pristine environment wireless-wise.
Okay. I can put in the plug that we do have algorithms, we call it auto RF, that are built into all of our access points that are there specifically to optimize channels and radio throughput given things like interference or high density environments, and that happens automatically on the access points. So in theory, the Meraki AP should be able to regulate and operate in environments where there's interference in an optimal way, but if you find yourself in a particularly challenging situation and you want to actually go in and manually set radio transmit power, which channels are being operated on or broadcast on, you can do that, and you can do it down to the granularity level of each individual radio. So it's a great question there. Mike, was there anything else on this slide that you wanted to add, or any other thoughts here?
I'll just comment to the layer 7 filtering. That's a huge feature for us. Once we put the wireless access points in all the schools and everyone started connecting their iPhones, their iPads, iTunes destroyed our network. There was absolutely no bandwidth to be had. So we turned on all that layer 7 filtering and put rules on it, and it's been great. I love that I love the granularity of the rules you can create. You can set, you can set the policy right down to the bits per second. The rule, it's great. It's totally eliminated. I mean, you can basically not use iTunes in our schools because we've limited so hard because we had to. And
Yep.
it's just great that it lets us do that.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to touch on this slide a little bit. Before I do, I've just been told there's a few more questions. Some of them are for me. One of them is there an option for local control? So I think that may be speaking to the question, the tangential question, which is what happens if you lose connectivity to the internet, since these are cloud-managed devices. So the short answer is yes, there is an option for local control. You have to be connected to or directly downstream of Meraki equipment, and you can then log in to a special page URL in your web browser, which will go directly to the device. And that's there in case you have done things like accidentally blown yourself out of the water through misconfiguration and shut off your own internet access. And you can go in, and there's some specific features that you can tweak. Things like DHCP, IP addresses, VLANs, ports, that kind of thing. The full rich feature set that is available from the cloud-managed interface is not available with this local control. That said, should your internet connection go down, all of your equipment will continue to run with its last known configuration. So if you are broadcasting wireless SSIDs, wireless networks, or you are you've got VLANs in place or firewall rules or traffic shaping rules, or you're authenticating to a local Active Directory or Radius server, or you're, to access file and print services and things like that, all of that will continue to operate. You just won't be able to go online to dashboard.meraki.com and tweak your configuration settings until you get your internet connectivity back up. All right, so Mike, remote troubleshooting. This is awesome. I love these features about our gear. We call these things live tools. Basically, it's tools built right into the dashboard that are diagnostic and troubleshooting tools. Things like a real cable test, or rebooting, or checking throughput, or interference, or channel usage, I guess, with the access points. Can you tell us a little bit about any experiences you've had using these?
The one we've used a few times has been the throughput live tool. I haven't really done the cable test tool. I have used the reboot tool. It does exactly what it says. It reboots the unit. But yeah, the throughput tool is nice. Gives us a good, we often get questions or get calls from our satellite school saying that the network is particularly slow. It's slower than usual, and they want us to look into it. And the throughput tool gives us a way of a nice, easy way of testing that.
Okay, great. We'll run through this more in the demo for sure. So just wanted to highlight and just sort of summarize for the presentative portion, what we're hearing from you, Mike, things like you've got reliability, you are able to go in and see what's happening, do things like throttle iTunes traffic and other applications that might be problematic for you. Can you speak at all to any future plans that you have for your network?
We have one other school that had an existing wireless network there that I want to get rid of, but it was just bought last year and it was very expensive. It was part of the contract for a new school that got built for us. So getting rid of it is a very touchy subject. Mm-hmm. But we're planning on replacing it with Meraki gear, and we're looking at replacing all of our switches with Meraki switch, and basically, we're replacing all of our networking infrastructure with your guys' stuff. We really like it that much.
Awesome. Always makes me happy.
We don't really have any other plans coming down the pipe as of yet.
Okay.
But
that's okay. So thank you. We really appreciate your taking time to chat with us. I'm going to pepper you with a few more questions that I'm hearing are coming in from the audience as I get ready to do the demo. And of course, as we go through the demo, if there's any stories you have or anything that you want to comment on, definitely feel free to pipe up, Mike.
Sure.
But as I get out here and switch over, one question from the audience was, how does the northern climate affect the access points, if at all?
It doesn't affect them too much because the units are inside. But we have a very high, the staff Static electricity is very high here. You
Mm-hmm.
walk across the room and you better have your keys in your hand because it's going to let off a big jolt. It hasn't affected the units at all, really.
Okay.
So, we've had them, we've had them running a couple months now, and to the best of my knowledge, they haven't been shorted out at all.
Okay.
So we're happy with that. Other than that,
Good.
it doesn't really affect them because, they're not out in the climate.
Okay, and one other question for you is your public SSID being used as a BYOD SSID? And if so, what mobile devices are being used?
It is being used as a BYOD. There's a bit of everything being used on it. Phones of all makes and models, tablets, laptops.
Great. And we can actually take a look at that too, in fact, in the demo. So just to confirm, network, right?
That's mine.
All right. And I just to give people actually a sense of where in the world you are, I just want to show people how far north you are. I don't
Yeah,
think
we're
you
up
can
there.
I don't think you can get any further than this. So, all right. So without further ado, let's launch into this demo. So thank you again for letting us present your network. We really appreciate it. And what I've done to get here is what anyone would do if they were a customer of ours. They would literally go to dashboard.meraki.com, log in with their username and credentials, and then you get dropped down into a page similar to this one, which is the overview page. Right away you can see which areas have gear. You can sort of see which types of networks you have. You could, if you wanted to, expand out here, sort by usage. You have the ability to tag things as well. See, okay, well, where are my wireless networks? Here they all are. And I could, deep dive in this way, or click into networks. So I'm going to just dive into one of your wireless networks here. And right away, this is one of the default views. This is a great one. Because we integrate with Google Maps, you can actually go in and place your access points on a map. Sometimes we see that folks will have uploaded floor plans as well, which is a feature we support here. So if you wanted to place your APs on a floor plan view, you could do that as well. But right away you can see whether an AP is offline, if APs are good and green and ready to go, if they've not connected to the cloud recently, and you could quickly dive into any access point from here, or come in and get a list of access points from this page. And I'll dive into this guy. And you can come into every individual access point and get status and information on it from its local configuration page, I guess you could say, or its config page. And all of our equipment, whether it's a security appliance, a switch, or an access point, will have a page similar to this, essentially showing you where in the world the device lives, information about what kind of device it is, in this case, which SSIDs are being broadcast, et cetera, and here's the live tools that we were talking about before, ways that you can come in and see, okay, I actually have 10 clients currently connected to this device, check the throughput. There's a couple of tools here most network admins should be familiar with, and then, who are my mesh neighbors, who can I see nearby in terms of access points and uptime and statistics like that. So a useful little tool to come into, but where I think people get really excited is this clients page. So again, all of our equipment supports a page like this, not just the wireless access points. But what you see when you come to this page is essentially for a given network, for a particular time frame, how many clients have been connecting, how much traffic has been consumed, what's the bandwidth look like, what kind of applications are being consumed. And so right now we can see in real time which devices are connected. We can see what the sort of pattern has been over the last week in terms of bandwidth usage. We can see that there were 85 unique devices that connected to this wireless network in the last week, and this is where I can come in and do things like say, okay, well, how many of them were iPods, or iPads, excuse me, and actually let's get manufacturer here so you know that I'm not making this up. So we had 5 different iPads. Did we have any Windows devices? Nope, doesn't look like it. Any Macs maybe? A couple Macs. So you can literally come in here and search this way you want BYOD perspective, being able to come in and see exactly what's connecting to your network and how often, this is really, really useful. So we call that client device fingerprint. You can search by the operating system. You can search by the manufacturer. You can search by the description of the device. If you are authenticating in some way to a Radius or Active Directory server, you might be able to sort by the username here, the IP address, MAC address, things like that. So pretty much most of this is searchable. And again, there's nothing you need to install on the client side to make this work. And similarly, we do application fingerprinting as well. So this is where you can come in and sort by usage and see exactly where your bandwidth is going. And one of the benefits of us being cloud-based is that we have algorithmically classified and tagged hundreds of websites and applications. We're constantly updating this in the background for you, and there's nothing that you need to do on your end to make this work. So you could click here into Google Video, for example, if this were concerning to you in terms of usage, get a little bit more information about it, see the top 30 consumers of Google Video. There's a feature you can turn on as well that will actually show you the specific destinations and websites that folks are going to and the active time spent per client. So very useful when it's a less descriptive application. So some of our applications might say things like, oh, miscellaneous web, because it's just a bunch of websites. So in that case, having that additional information would be useful. Here, of course, we know you're going to Google Video, so it probably wouldn't be as useful. But from here, what you can do, or from the previous clients page, you could click into any single one of these devices, see that, okay, it's connected wirelessly, it's connected to, again, the SSID that I'm expecting it to connect to given the network. Here's its real-time signal strength. I can get some information about it, so it's an iPod, see that the user who's using it, and again, for the last week, get a sense of the bandwidth consumption, and of course we would expect Google Video would be a large contributor to overall consumption given that it was the second most top consumer of Google Video. But you can come in and...
For 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
The fact that it tells us who the user is what we love about this the most. It lets us have the teacher, if someone's doing something inappropriate, we know right away who it is without really having to dig through any log files on the proxy or anything, and have the staff reprimand the user.
Totally. Yeah, it's a really nice feature, and you sort of gloss over it when we demo it, but I'm glad that you piped up there. Thank you. So if you, for example, as Mike said, if you know that this is a particular user that's causing trouble, what you can do is just from right here, if you wanted to block, apply a policy, or even apply a policy based on the SSID, you could come in and do that here. You can come in and see exactly where the policies are coming from, because you can set policies from our security appliances as well. So our access points and our security appliances both let you set up firewall rules and traffic shaping rules. And the way you configure those is you literally just come in here. You can create a policy. I'll just pretend like I'm adding a new one. You can name it. You can decide when you want this policy to be in place. So maybe you only care about this particular policy from 8 to 5 on maybe weekdays only, for example. And then you come in and you set custom firewall and traffic shaping rules. So because we have that layer 7 visibility into applications, we can do things like just outright block entire categories of traffic. Or perhaps we only want to block, specific, maybe just a specific type of thing. Maybe you don't ever want to see websites or something like that. I don't know. We could say drop cam. If you wanted to actually come in and prioritize or throttle traffic, but not necessarily block it, you could come in here and find your particular, let's just say, particular application. So we were saying Google Video was one, maybe Netflix is another, and maybe iTunes. And all you need to do is come here, say I'm going to choose a limit, and throttle this down. So at this point, any user or device or groups of users or groups of devices that get this particular group policy would be blocked from peer-to-peer traffic. So all of these websites here, and they'd be blocked from using this Dropcam application, and their Google Video, Netflix, and iTunes would be throttled immediately to 100 kilobits per second. So not just when the network is saturated as soon as the packets hit the access point in this case. Now if you wanted to prioritize these, it's as simple as ignoring any bandwidth limits and moving this out this way. And that's all you got to do to set group policies. Now you can do things like apply group policies automatically by device type. And we can talk a little bit about that, how you would go in perhaps and set up a very, very quick wireless network. If you wanted to maybe set up a guest SSID or something along those lines, it's very easy to do so. Once you've created an SSID, and all of our access points support up to 15, it's very easy. You just go in and you name them, and you turn them on and enable them. They show up here. You can pick them and decide things like, okay, what are my association requirements going to be? Do I want an open network because it's a guest network? Do I have a pre-shared key? Am I authenticating with a radius server or something of that sort? Or am I going to go through and use a through splash page or sign on with any of the various ways to authenticate here using a sign-on page? So many, many different ways to do that. And then what you can do is come down, and if you were creating a guest network, you could just put your network in NAT mode. So it sets, basically has some settings here where clients would receive an isolated Class A IP, so they couldn't talk to each other and they couldn't talk to your wired network unless you create firewall rules to permit that. So you can create guest SSIDs in literally 3 clicks from here if you wanted to. And one of the features that you have is the ability to also, like I said earlier, assign group policies by device types. You can come in here, do things like say, well, this is a school. I'm not expecting any BlackBerries, so I'm going to block BlackBerries from this wireless network. iPads, maybe I'll apply this policy to. And Androids, maybe I like Android, so they get this one. And so you don't even have to know what is being brought onto your network. Literally, you can just pick from these kinds of devices and apply policies to them if you want to do it that way. So really, really useful and simple. Now, what I want to do is actually back out of the wireless and look at a switch network really quickly. There's a lot we could talk about for all of these, so I know I'm not going into heavy detail, but given the time constraints, I just want to give you guys a quick overview, and if there's anything that you want to see in particular demo, just let Jackie or Kat know in the Q&A box. But what I want to show you is the switches. I'll just dive into this guy real quick, show you what a switch configuration page looks like. So you can see in real time, which ports are active, which ports, the P means PoE is enabled, so there must be perhaps a PoE device connected here. And then are the live tools. So the cable test tool that we were alluding to earlier, this is a great tool. It will actually go in and test each individual twisted pair in your Ethernet cable, tell you whether or not it's okay, and it will also estimate the cable length for you. So if you're seeing some sporadic issues, and maybe worried about the length of your cable, you could ascertain very quickly whether your cable's too long. A couple other tools here. But the killer feature of the switch, if I had to only pick one thing to show you, is this thing called virtual stacking. So this is right here. So we only had one switch in this network. It was a MS22P, so 22 switch ports. But you can imagine that if you had a network that had, maybe 5, 10, however many switches, that might translate into a couple hundred, even thousands of switch ports perhaps, and they would all be listed here in one for a given network. And what you can do is you can actually do things like say, all right, I'm only going to search for ports 1 through 10 that are active here. And so that's 8 switch ports in this case. And I'm going to maybe, only search for the ones that are trunk ports. And so again, it's still 8 ports. And maybe I want, let's see, like VLAN 101. So there's 1. And there's a whole slew of criteria that you can search on here, and these aren't even all of them. We've documented them in our docs. But once you found your list of switch ports that you want to operate on, you simply select them all, hit Edit, and here's where you can come in and do things like tag them, name them, enable or disable spanning tree, PoE, make them trunk or access ports, set VLANs, set voice VLANs, and do things like apply some of the security features that we have built into our switches. So you can apply port access policies if you want to have some sort of authentication necessary to pass traffic through a switch port, or you can set a port schedule if you want to do that for security or for energy savings reasons, and only allow switch ports to be on and enabled at certain times, similar to what we saw with the when we went to go set group policies on the APs. That's scheduling. It looks just like that. All right, so let me back out of the demo. Again, if there was anything that you wanted to see that didn't get highlighted, let me know through Jackie and Kat. We did have a question for you, Mike, which is, are you using Active Directory for your authentication?
We are, yes. Well, we're using Active Directory for our user authentication and for the radius.
Okay. Okay. And we had a question for me, which was, do the access port, do the APs have mesh capabilities? And the answer is yes. So all Meraki APs are designed to automatically mesh in the event that there is no direct LAN connection from the AP to a switch, and the access point is basically within the range of another Meraki access point. That is, in fact, we often recommend that one of them at least should be connected via a wired connection back to the LAN. We call the ones that are connected gateway APs. So if a Meraki AP can hear and see a gateway AP and it either loses its Ethernet connectivity if it was directly connected, or if there's just a place where you can't run a wire, but you can run power, you can have an access point there and they will automatically mesh. And we do use proprietary meshing protocols for that, so not CapLab. All right, so really quickly, let's wrap this up so we have a few more questions that we can get to at the end. If this looks interesting to you, we have a really great eval program. So we will still actually pay shipping both ways to send you any of our products that you'd like to test for your particular network. So if you'd like to test drive our gear in your own environment, I highly recommend that you try before you decide, and just test us alongside some of the competition if you'd like and see what works best for you. If you want to get started with that, you can go to meraki.cisco.com/eval or give us a call at any point. And just to sort of wrap up, like I said, we've got several models of access points, mostly 11N, but we did announce our new 11AC access point a couple of months ago. It was the MR34 access point. That's an indoor access point. We do have indoor and outdoor model access points, 2 outdoor models, and those are 11N access points. And all the features that we've demoed today with the wireless, you'll see that in every access point. So there's no per feature, per user licensing there. We have a bunch of models of security appliances as well. Everything from sort of small branch deployments for boxes built for maybe 25 users at a branch location, all the way up to security appliances that can service on the order of thousands of users. And these are full UTM boxes. So they have intrusion detection and prevention using source fire snort. They have content filtering. They have malware and anti-phishing. They have great site-to-site VPN. We call it auto VPN. You can set it up in 3 clicks in the dashboard. We throw in WAN optimization for free as well if you'd like that. A slew of really great features there. And of course you can do the security firewall rules, group policy rules, traffic shaping, things like that. And then of course we've got switches. So we have actually access and aggregation layer switches. So those come in an array of models and port configurations. So I would definitely check out our website if you're interested in the switch. And those also have great visibility, same level of visibility as all the other gear into the clients, into the applications being consumed. You can do those Google-like searches on the types of devices connecting to your network, and then all of them come with virtual stacking, live tools, et cetera, And then finally we have Systems Manager. So it's 100% free. You can run it without having any other Cisco Meraki equipment installed on your network if you'd like. It is literally free. There's no catch or caveats. It's for iOS, Androids, Macs, and PCs. And if you want to get started with it, the URL is down there, or just visit our website. You can find the button to get started. And so that wraps up the presentative portion of the webinar today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just pause and check really quickly with Jackie and Kat. We have maybe 5 more minutes before the next webinar starts to answer more questions. So let me just check with them real quick, and I will be right back. So we had a question on with the access points for a feature that I did not highlight. So I do actually want to show you that one. And it was for error marshal, and it's something that I didn't get to, but may or may not be interesting to those of you that have or considering wireless. So a couple of things. One, when you buy our equipment, what you're buying is the hardware, and you're buying a license. And the license is for some duration of time, but that license will include all of your support. It includes all access to all the cloud features for your device, so all this management in this management interface, as well as all the future feature updates and firmware enhancements that we're going to push out. So literally the devices that you own 3 years from now will be much more robust and feature-rich than the devices you buy today. And so an example of a feature that came that folks woke up to one day is something like Air Marshal. And this is wireless intrusion prevention for networks. And it's built into all access points. Again, there's no additional per user per feature charge because our license is sort of all you can eat. And what this is basically if you've got a network and either someone is mimicking your wireless network in their wireless network's name, across the street or what have you, or you have a student who comes in and maybe plugs in their own wireless access point, this is designed to help you in those situations. So essentially what this is doing is it's looking on the network to find any rogue wireless networks or malicious types of traffic, and you can then very quickly see if anything had been detected here. It'll show you which access points are actually seeing the activity, so you can narrow down in terms of where it is. If you had a floor plan view, for example, here you could see in which part of a building that rogue device was in. And then you can do things like contain it if you need to. So you can run opportunistic scans only, or if you want to schedule a date and time when these scans are run from the Meraki access points, you can do that. Of course, clients cannot be serviced during scans. So opportunistic means your access points will only scan the environment for malicious activity when there are no clients connected to it. Question for me was integration. Okay, how do we integrate with other vendors' products? It's a good question. So our gear is standards-based. So you can, if you want, just have a layer of equipment. So sort of similar to what Mike said. He has Meraki switches, non-Meraki switches. He doesn't, I don't think, have a security appliance from us, which is totally fine. But he has our access points. You could have situations like that where you have maybe a layer of access points or just a layer of switches, or maybe you just have an access point. You're using other vendors for the other other features and functionality and other parts of your network. You can have Meraki access points along with non-Meraki access points, for example. The problem with mixed vendor environments is that we can't manage non-Meraki devices from our dashboard. So you might see the devices. If you have a Meraki device that's upstream of non-Meraki devices, you'll see it. You can see maybe its bandwidth consumption and get some information about it as if it were a client, but you can't go in and manage it. So you're going to be using at least 2 interfaces because you have to manage our gear through our dashboard if you had a mixed environment. That would be my main thing. But you can deploy. You absolutely don't need to just have Meraki equipment there. Now let me just check and see if there's any other questions. And I would say it looks like we've answered most of them. If you have a question and it didn't get answered, I would definitely be okay with that, because what we've done is we are capturing these questions and we're going to send them to your Meraki rep, who should get in touch with you with an answer. But you can always feel free to reach out to us at any point. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Can APs be placed anywhere on the network, or does a zone need to be designated? These can be placed anywhere on the network as far as I know. There is obviously what you're going to want to do is run some sort of site survey probably before, just make sure that there's not tons of interference that could impact where you place the APs, but as long as they can either connect back to a gateway AP over our mesh, or they're connected to a switch of some sort, or they're connected to the internet directly, you can put them wherever you want. It's not an issue. And you can also mix our 11AC and our 11N APs as well. That seemed to be another question. So the 11AC is backwards compatible with the 11N. All right, I think that is most of the questions. I want to make sure that we have some time for the other webinar to get settled in. But again, if you asked a question, it did not get answered, have no fear. We will capture that and get back to you. If you don't mind answering a quick 2-question survey on your way out, that would be lovely, because we're always trying to improve these for future attendees. But thank you so much for your time. Hopefully this was useful and interesting. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Have a great day, and hope to see you again at a future webinar.